It's just a racial preference. Let's talk about it. The Danish deception has obviously prompted a ton of discourse on this app, but what I want to talk about is racial preferences in dating and why they're 100% problematic and 100% rooted in racism. Hinge, like one of the leading dating apps on the market, has an ethnic filter capacity, which enables users to filter out whole ethnicities that they don't want to date. On its website, Hinge purports to have the filter to like empower Black people, to empower people of color to date within their race, which I do think makes sense. But what Hinge fails to acknowledge is that by having this ethnic filter, they empower white people to disempower people of color, to decide they don't want to date these people because it's a racial preference. Zooming out, I do think it's okay to have a type, and by a type, I mean like having a preference for a certain height or maybe even certain hair colors. But when that preference is rooted entirely in like ethnicities and races you will and will not date, that's racism. When a person tells you, I only date X race or I don't date X race, what they're actually telling you is that they spend all of their time defining people, defining individuals based on their race and ethnicity. Assuming that someone's race or ethnicity makes them a more desirable partner or a less desirable partner is entirely rooted in imperialism and colonialism, and it is loser behavior. It's also rooted in something called scientific racism. Shall we dive in? Side note, a person of color deciding not to date outside of their race because they're afraid of suffering like microaggressions, macroaggressions, discrimination from that person or their family is not a type of racism, and it's not the same thing. Also, side note, reverse racism does not exist. It's a defense mechanism. Scientific racism emerged sometime during the 1600s and became its most popular among European and American academic circles sometime between like the 19th century and early 20th century. It has since been summarily discredited as like unscientifically based and also racist. Ultimately, and like most basically, scientific racism associates certain physical traits, like the way someone looks, and their emotional traits and like their intellectual capacities to their race. A perfect example of the fundamental hypocrisy of scientific racism is my historical arch nemesis, Thomas Jefferson. At once, this man proclaimed that all men were created equally, but then described Black people as inferior to the whites in the endowments of body and mind. This man allegedly believed that Black people were unattractive and unworthy of respect, but also physically and sexually assaulted an enslaved woman on his plantation for the entire duration of her life. Her name was Sally Hemings. So when you say, I don't date X racial group, it's not racist, like I just have a preference, what you're actually doing is spouting this like colonizer imperialist bullshit. What you're actually doing is deciding that an entire racial group or ethnicity is unworthy of your romance, of your dating, because of the characteristics you attribute to that entire racial group. And where do those attributions you have in that little brain of yours come from? Racism. You're also revealing how many holes you've got in that brain of yours because you succumbed entirely to like the racial stereotypes and biases that infiltrate media, right? Like you're not able to think on your own, right? Like your preferences are the adoption of racial stereotypes again because you can't think for yourself. So yeah, your racial preference is rooted in something really, really harmful. Hope that helped. Okay, bye.
Honestly, I don't think I've got any issues with dating preference. And I don't think dating preference is racism or racist or some whatever she's talking about. I think sometimes people just choose what they're familiar with. Like if you leave a white person to choose between a white guy or a black guy or Asian guy, there's a 90% chance she's gonna pick a white guy. Is that racism? Probably not. I think, of course there are people out there that's just racist as fuck. Some people are just piece of shit kind of people. But I think sometimes human beings don't really like change. Like people don't like to change stuff, especially stuff they're used to. If you're used to seeing a lot of white people around you, maybe white guys, maybe black, maybe white girls around you, there's a high chance that person is going to date and marry a white person. And if you're a black person and you're used to seeing a lot of black people around you, there's a high chance you're going to date or marry a black person. And if you eventually go to a white neighborhood as a black person, there's a high chances, they might not want to date you. Of course, racism could be there, but I'm not going to put it all on racism because I think some people are a piece of shit and some people it's just preference. Human beings are just, they do what they're familiar with. That's just human being. You know, every time I've dated some white girls, and most time they just tell me, "Oh, yo, the culture is different, and you have to learn people's culture and this and that." Sometimes these girls are lazy; they just don't want to, learn people's culture. I don't think it's like racism. I think sometimes they're just lazy. They would like to just date what they already know. It's like it's just that's just people's character. That's just people's nature. That's humans' nature. You do what you already know. So like personally, like me personally, like I don't mind. I think getting to know people's culture, tradition, it's fun for me. It's more like challenge for me. Like, oh, that's a white person, that's an Asian person, whatever. Knowing their culture and knowing what they do, it's actually fun for me. It makes the relationship fun to me personally. But some people are not like that. Not everyone is me. Some people are like, fuck that shit. I just wanna do what I already know. you know. And there's so many reasons why a lot of people might not want to date a different race. Maybe the food, maybe the way they talk, maybe maybe their character, whatever. It has nothing to do with race or skin color. It's just some people just like white people, and some black people just like black people, and some Asians like Asian. It's just what it is. I'm not going to judge somebody for having a preference of what they like. Like I said earlier, are there people out there that are racist? Yeah, they are. Will I categorize everyone together? Probably not. I've also heard some few things when she said, "Oh, people back in those days is that white is superior," blah blah blah. I think it's more like an Asian thing. I think we all know the Asian white culture shit. Some black folks do it too. I think it's more prominent with the Asian people, where Asian women just want to date anything white. I think when you come to the black community, it's a little bit different. There's some black girls, that do that, but when it comes to black guys, I think most black guys don't care. They'll date black, white, black, Asian. They don't give a shit. And I think there's some Asian people or white people that same thing. They don't care. They would have, they're comfortable around. And also people got to understand, when you come to places like Europe, for example, there's a way people act here. There's some Europeans that don't even like Americans because the way they're too loud, or they don't like their culture, they don't like Trump, whatever the reason it is. I've seen people that will not date Americans because they don't like Trump, or they don't like their political views, or they said Americans are stupid, or Americans don't have knowledge and shit. The reasons like that. It has nothing to do with your race. It's just they don't like, the country itself. Some women would, cut you off for simple reasons and stuff like that. So, like I said, I think she's absolutely wrong with this take. And I went to the comment section. I see a lot of people, supporting her and say, "Yeah, you're right. You this, you that." I think when it comes to social media, once you got a little bit of following, people just gonna support whatever you say. It's like a cult. It's like a community for you. So either you're wrong or right, people just gonna support you. But anyways, this take is wrong, very wrong. I think people should have a preference for what they like. If you don't like white person, date black person. If you like white person, date white person. If you don't like black people, then don't date black people. If you like them, then date them. It's not that deep, man. I think sometimes people like this just try to create content and just say anything just to create content. But and I also understand the whole Tinder thing, the whole social media thing, and you know, filters and shit, but it's not today. Filters has been available for a long time. I remember back then there's this dating app called Badu or something like that. There's this dating app called, what's it called? Okay Cupid or whatever. Filters has always existed a long time ago. It's not new. It's not like a Hinge thing or a Tinder thing. It's existed for a long time. It helps you, The whole filter thing also helps you with the location and the kind of height you want. She's not talking about this because that's the most important. Because if you go to this dating app, the most things people search for is he has to be 6 foot tall. That's the most important thing for a lot of women. I don't think most women, either black or white, give a shit if the person is white or black or Asian. Like the most searched thing on dating app is usually height, and later they check what kind of job you do. It don't matter. I don't think a lot of people are searching for a particular race. Yeah, maybe some countries are like that. But as much as people criticize Russia or something like that, Russia women, one of the highest people would date black man or Asian man. Because, yeah, they're racist in Russia, yeah. The racist in the state, yeah. The racist everywhere, yeah. But people got preference, man. Some women just like some chocolate, man. And some women like some vanilla, some milk. It's just what it is. Some women, like themselves some vanilla, man, and it's okay. It's okay. Everything don't have to be racism, man. Sometimes we just need to let this whole racism thing just go away, man. It's getting boring at this point. Sometimes it's okay for you to, understand that you find yourself in a situation or racism shit happens. But when it comes to dating, man, let people do whatever the fuck they want. I don't give a shit. But anyway, guys, let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section, man. Please like, subscribe my channel, man. I'm out.